What does it take to make an entire sports league look corrupt? Not a bad call, not a dirty foul, not even a cover-up. What it takes is getting caught. And right now, the Indiana Fever, their head coach, and the WNBA front office are drowning in exactly that. A scandal so layered, so deliberately constructed, and so catastrophically mishandled that it turned one violent collision on a basketball court into the most talked-about controversy in women's sports history. Two pieces of evidence have surfaced that nobody in that organization wanted the public to see. A crystal-clear camera angle that proves everything, and a secret audio recording that exposed what was happening behind closed doors when they thought nobody was listening. The fallout has been absolutely brutal, and we are just getting started. The moment DiJonai Carrington sent Sophie Cunningham crashing to the floor, something shifted in that arena. You could feel it. The crowd went silent for a split second before the outrage erupted, and the opposing bench collectively lost it. Because what everyone in that building witnessed, and what millions more would see on replay, was not a basketball play. It was a targeted strike dressed up in the costume of competitive aggression. Sophie Cunningham is not a soft player. Anyone who follows the league knows exactly who she is. She is the kind of player who makes coaches sleep easier at night because she never gives less than everything she has. She dives for loose balls, she takes charges, she plays through contact that would sideline lesser competitors. So when a player like Sophie Cunningham hits the floor the way she did that night, people pay attention because it takes something serious to put her down like that. The referees on the floor did not hesitate. All of them were in agreement. This was a flagrant 2 foul, the most severe in-game penalty available to officials in live play. Carrington was ejected on the spot. No debate among the officiating crew, no lengthy review session. They saw what they saw, and they made their call immediately. The entire basketball world expected what naturally follows a flagrant 2 ejection, a swift, serious response from the league. Suspensions, a statement, accountability. Instead, what came next left everyone completely speechless. When Stephanie White walked up to that microphone, she had a choice. She could acknowledge what happened, show some integrity, and let the process play out. Instead, she looked directly into those cameras and chose a completely different path. She told the media, and by extension, the entire basketball-watching public, that the broadcast angles were misleading, that DiJonai Carrington was simply a player caught up in the speed and physicality of a fast-paced professional game, that people were overreacting to what, in her professional coaching opinion, was an unfortunate but ultimately accidental play. She essentially walked up to a podium and told millions of people not to trust their own eyes. And here is what made it even worse. Before any of the camera angle drama fully exploded, there was already another issue sitting in the middle of this story that the media was sprinting away from as fast as humanly possible. Carrington had made comments online, comments that included a reference to white privilege in the context of this exact situation, a tweet that caused immediate outrage the moment people connected it to what had just happened on the court. And you know what ESPN did with it? Nothing. You know what the Indiana Fever's own media team did with it? Less than nothing. The Chloe Petersons, the Hanks, the Tony Easts, the James Boyds, every single media personality covering that team somehow forgot how to ask follow-up questions the moment that topic came up. Nobody pressed it. Nobody demanded an answer. The tweet just sat there, unaddressed, while everyone pretended it did not exist. For a brief window, the strategy worked. The league avoided handing down anything significant in terms of suspension. The PR crisis team went to sleep, thinking they had successfully managed the narrative. Sophie Cunningham was left dealing with the physical aftermath of that hit without a single ounce of institutional justice. And Stephanie White's version of events, the misleading angles, the overreacting public, the unfortunate accident, was becoming the accepted story.
But here is the thing about constructed lies in professional sports. They have a very short shelf life. And this one was already cracking before anyone realized it. It came from the last place the Indiana Fever's crisis team expected, not from an investigative journalist, not from a league review, not from a rival team's legal challenge. It came from a fan, a single person in the stands with a cell phone and a decent seat who captured the entire collision from a completely different angle, a baseline perspective that the official broadcast had never shown the public. When that footage hit the internet, it did not spread slowly. It went everywhere, almost instantly, because what it showed was something that no amount of spin could survive. This was not grainy, this was not shaky, it was high definition, unedited, and brutally clear. You could see the micro-expressions, you could see the precise shift in body weight in the moments before impact, you could see the exact point of contact and the decision-making that preceded it. Every single frame of that video screamed the same thing. This was deliberate. The new angle did not just expose DiJonai Carrington, it did something far more destructive to the people running the Indiana Fever. It made Stephanie White's press conference statements completely indefensible. Because here is the question that swept through the entire fan base the moment that clip went viral. If a person with a cell phone and a single seat angle could see exactly what happened, how on earth did a head coach with access to multiple internal camera feeds, replay monitors, and a full coaching staff not see the same thing? The answer that everyone arrived at simultaneously was devastating. She saw it. She absolutely saw it. She had access to footage that was even clearer than what a fan captured on their phone. She reviewed it, she understood exactly what it showed, and then she walked out to that press conference and told a deliberate, calculated falsehood to protect her player from consequences. The trust between Stephanie White and the basketball public did not erode gradually after that clip surfaced. It was severed instantly and completely. But as catastrophic as that footage was, it was only the beginning of what was about to come. Someone on the inside had finally seen enough. Whether it was a staff member disgusted by the direction leadership was taking, someone with a conscience who could not stomach watching the cover-up unfold in real time, or simply a person who understood that this was going to get worse before it got better, somebody made a decision. They recorded what was happening behind closed doors, and then they leaked it. The audio that surfaced was muffled in places, as you would expect from a recording made without anyone's knowledge during a closed-door meeting, but it was decipherable, clearly, unambiguously decipherable. And what it revealed stripped away every remaining pretense that this situation was being handled with any integrity whatsoever. You can hear the panic in those voices, the kind of panic that does not come from people trying to figure out how to discipline a player who crossed the line. This is a completely different kind of panic. This is the sound of people who know they are on the wrong side of something and are desperately trying to construct a wall between themselves and the consequences. The voices on that tape are not asking how to make things right for Sophie Cunningham. They're not discussing what appropriate accountability looks like. They're strategizing, specifically and deliberately strategizing about which words to use in public statements to minimize the perceived severity of the foul, how to frame the narrative so the league feels less pressure to issue significant penalties, how to shield DiJonai Carrington from the full weight of what the rules clearly required, given a flagrant 2 ejection.
It was not damage control. Damage control involves honesty about what happened combined with efforts to minimize harm going forward. What was captured on that tape was something else entirely. It was a coordinated, calculated campaign to suppress the truth, to manipulate the media, to deceive the public, and to protect a player from consequences she had already been officially penalized for in the moment by the referees on the floor. When that audio found its way to Patrick Bet-David, the reaction was unlike anything that broadcast had produced in recent memory. Patrick Bet-David built his entire brand on one core principle: transparency. He has spent years calling out fake leadership, manufactured narratives, and institutional cowardice across business, politics, and sports. So when that secret recording landed in his hands, he did not sit on it. He did not tease it. He did not strategically release clips for engagement. He put it on and played it for his entire audience. What followed was methodical and absolutely devastating. PBD stopped the tape sentence by sentence. He broke down each exchange. He laid out exactly what was being said and what it meant in plain language so that nobody watching could claim confusion about what they were hearing. He connected every piece: the original hit, the Flagrant 2, the press conference lies, the buried social media controversy, the fan cam footage, and assembled it all into a complete, coherent picture of institutional corruption at the coaching level. He did not mince words about Stephanie White. He did not offer the kind of measured, balanced commentary that protects people from professional backlash. He looked straight into the camera and called it exactly what the evidence showed it to be: a conspiracy. A deliberate, organized effort to protect a dangerous player from league discipline by manufacturing a false public narrative and coordinating that manufactured narrative behind closed doors. His argument was straightforward and difficult to counter. When a head coach enables violent play and then lies about it publicly, they have already forfeited any moral authority to lead that team. When that same coach is then caught on audio actively directing a cover-up campaign, the question is no longer whether they should face consequences. The question is why those consequences have not already arrived. PBD was not asking for a statement from the league office. He was not requesting an apology. He demanded terminations, immediate, unconditional terminations. And he made the stakes crystal clear for anyone listening. If the WNBA allows a coach to survive a leaked cover-up recording, they are not just failing Sophie Cunningham. They are signaling to every player, coach, and fan in the league that accountability is negotiable. That if you have the right connections and the right PR team, the rules simply do not apply to you in the same way they apply to everyone else. And once a league sends that signal, it does not easily walk it back. The dominoes were falling fast, and the people at the top of the Indiana Fever had nowhere left to hide. When the noise reached a level that could no longer be ignored, two of the most prominent players on the roster stepped forward to publicly defend their head coach. Sophie Cunningham herself and Caitlin Clark both went on record standing behind Stephanie White. And while that kind of loyalty is understandable on a human level, these are people who work with this woman every single day. What they actually said created almost as many problems as it was meant to solve. Sophie Cunningham stated publicly that their locker room was tight, that the team had each other's backs, that Stephanie White was great with all of them. And then she added something that stopped a lot of people mid-sentence. She said that Coach White did not see the clip, and that was okay.
Let that sit for a moment. The head coach of a professional basketball team, on the sideline during the game, coaching in real time, did not see the play that triggered a Flagrant 2 ejection, the most severe on-court penalty in the rulebook. She was physically present. She was presumably watching the game she was being paid to coach. And according to her own player, she simply did not see it. Not the original play, not the aftermath, not the ejection. None of it registered for the woman standing right there on that sideline. That explanation does not make the situation better. It makes it significantly worse. Because if she genuinely did not see it in real time, then what exactly was she basing her press conference statements on? If she was not watching closely enough to catch a Flagrant 2 in her own game, where was she looking? And if she did see it and simply chose to claim otherwise, which is what the fan cam footage and the leaked audio strongly suggest, then the cover-up goes even deeper than anyone initially suspected. Caitlin Clark's statement carried the same energy of sincere loyalty, combined with a complete lack of engagement with the actual substance of the scandal. She said it was tough, that White was her head coach, that she hated seeing fans boo her before the game, that it made her a little sick, that the team would always ride for their coach. It was warm, it was genuine in its emotion, and it addressed absolutely nothing that anyone was actually asking about.
Meanwhile, at a home game, their own home game in Indiana, fans were booing Stephanie White before tip-off. Not on the road, not in a hostile arena, at home. The people who buy those tickets, wear that gear, and fill those seats every game were directing open disapproval at their own head coach. That does not happen over a misunderstood press conference. That happens when trust has been broken in a way that resonates with people who have been following and supporting this team for years. Player loyalty is a beautiful thing in sports, but loyalty deployed as a substitute for accountability is something different. And right now, the statements coming out of that locker room are doing exactly that, defending a person while completely sidestepping the documented, recorded, leaked evidence of what that person actually did. Here is where everything stands. The fan cam footage is viral and is not going away. The leaked audio is public and has been analyzed by one of the most prominent media voices in the country in real time on a broadcast seen by millions. The white privilege social media controversy remains completely unaddressed by every major outlet covering this team. The cover-up has collapsed under the weight of its own evidence, and Stephanie White is coaching basketball games as though none of this is happening, while her home crowd boos her before tip-off. The WNBA commissioner is facing a decision that will define how this league is perceived for years. Not just by casual fans or the sports media, by everyone paying attention to whether women's professional basketball holds itself to the same standards of accountability that any serious sports organization is expected to maintain. Option 1. The league steps in with a full independent investigation, issues the suspensions that should have followed the Flagrant 2 ejection weeks ago, and forces a serious conversation about what happened in that coaching meeting captured on audio. This is painful in the short term. It creates headlines, demands difficult conversations, and probably costs someone their job. But it sends an unambiguous message that the rules apply equally and that cover-ups do not survive contact with institutional integrity. Option 2, Stephanie White is forced out. Whether by resignation or by the front office finally running out of patience, her departure becomes the price the organization pays to draw a line under the scandal. It does not resolve every question, but it signals that the coaching staff does not get to orchestrate media manipulation campaigns and keep their jobs while the evidence is sitting on the internet for anyone to hear. Option 3, the league tries to wait it out. They hope the news cycle moves on. They issue careful, non-committal statements about taking matters seriously. They quietly let the story fade and pray that the next big news moment buries this one before the pressure becomes truly unbearable.
Option 3 is also the most dangerous, because the receipts are already public. The footage exists, the audio exists, the commentary from Patrick Bet-David exists, the booing crowds exist, the unanswered social media controversy exists. Every attempt to pretend this situation resolved itself will be met with evidence that it very clearly did not. This is not just a crisis for the Indiana Fever anymore. This is a test for the entire sport. Women's basketball has spent years fighting for the level of mainstream attention and respect it is finally beginning to receive. The stars in this league are legitimate, the games are competitive, and the fan base is growing rapidly. All of that progress is being put at risk by a coaching staff that decided cover-up was preferable to accountability, and by a league office that has so far responded with the kind of silence that emboldens exactly this type of behavior. The longer this drags on without real consequences, the louder the message becomes. Not just to players and coaches, but to every fan watching, that the people running this sport are more interested in protecting the institution than protecting the integrity that makes the institution worth protecting in the first place. Sophie Cunningham deserved justice the night that hit happened. She is still waiting, and every single day the league stalls, that wait becomes a bigger part of the story than the foul itself. The cover-up has collapsed. The evidence is on the table. Now the only question left is whether the people with the power to act are willing to use it. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Should Stephanie White still have a job after what that audio tape revealed? And what does the league owe Sophie Cunningham at this point? This story is still developing, and every update is going to matter. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because this one is far from over.